What's up, everybody? My name is Rafael Medina, and I'm a street photographer from Providence, Rhode Island. And today I want to discuss a photo book that I released back in 2021 titled Dear PVD. So this is my debut self-published book of the photos that I took in my city from 2019 to 2021. And I've always been asked on how I was able to create this book on my own. So hoping this video will be able to help you out a little bit, because it's something that I think anybody can do. So if you feel that you're there, hoping this video helps you out, like I just said. A quick backstory. So I've always wanted to do a photo book, and I just didn't think my work was good enough just yet when I first started shooting. And I always told myself that when the time comes, I'd be able to tell that my work has gotten that much better. And the year 2020 was that year for me. You know, after COVID hit and I started, and I was at home most of the time, I started looking into videos that kind of teach me about old street photographers. And then I started buying more photo books, and I started seeing work that was really incredible, that wasn't really influenced by social media at all, just kind of like a lot of old school photographers. And even though I've seen a few of them before, but really diving into it gives you a different perspective and lets you understand what a better photo really is compared to just the stuff that you see on Instagram. So after that, in June, I ended up investing in a Fuji X100V, and it's still my favorite camera I've ever owned so far. I just feel like it feels perfect. Obviously, it has its flaws like everything else, but it really is just like such an excellent camera. And at the time, it was a big deal for me because I typically shoot in 50 to 85 millimeter for street photography. So to go all the way down to a 35 was extremely intimidating. But after the first 2 or 3 sessions, I just felt something different. I felt all the knowledge that I gained in the previous months with like the books and the videos, and all the knowledge that I've gained the years, prior just like shooting. It just allowed me to kind of see things a little bit differently. So when I started utilizing this, it gave me a different perspective when shooting in a city that I was already comfortable with like these other focal lengths. I felt like it just opened up a new world, and I was pretty much hooked on it. So at the time I was working from home, so I would literally work up until 3 or 4 p.m. and then I'll just go out and shoot, But it was such a cool time because it was just really me out there just with my camera. There's so much that I was able to learn within those few months of shooting with this camera. And then once I started looking at my work, I felt that it was good enough to be able to put in a book like around maybe October of that year of 2020. Once I decided that I was going to create the book, I decided to make a folder of all the photos that I think could possibly go into the book. And then I just printed all of them out through, I believe it's printique.com. There was just like a few cents each photo, but it was like a bunch of 4x6 photos. And I decided to print out like over 60 or 70 photos at the time, and then just kind of evaluate them in person. And seeing all your work in person just gives you a completely different perspective on your photos. So I highly recommend anyone to do that who hasn't done that yet. It was cool for those first few months. I was just focusing on just picking photos that I think would work for the book, and I was going to figure everything else out afterwards. I didn't have a title yet. I didn't have a cover or anything like that. And then after working on the book for a few months, I realized that I really wasn't ready just yet. I was trying to do a few other things, and I wasn't able to give it all my time and all the attention that it deserved. So I decided to scrap it after trying it out for a few months, which is pretty tough for me, but it felt like the right move at the time. And I put it aside up until maybe like September, October of 2021. And once I decided to pick it up again, it was kind of just full force with it. And I ended up ordering a lot more prints. I had all the prints on the tables, on the floors. I decided to really hone in on, what's going to work for the book and what's not. I came up with the title Dear PVD, like I said, because it's like a love letter to my city. I love Providence very passionately. So it was cool to be able to create this kind of content in my city, because when I first started shooting, I didn't think it was possible. So there was a lot of work that I had to put into to be able to create the type of work that I do out here, especially because it's not like New York or Boston where there's like a lot of stuff going on. It's a pretty quiet city for the most part compared to, those major ones. For those few months, I worked hard on picking out what photos I wanted for the book. I kept everything pretty close to the chest, so I didn't really have anybody else helping me out except for my girlfriend, who's a photographer herself. So I really valued her opinion. But besides that, I was just doing everything on my own. So when it came to creating the book, I landed on a website called blurb.com. They have a really easy template for you to drag and drop your photos into one of their books. I kept everything pretty simple, so their website made it really easy for me to do this. It's something that I would highly recommend if you're interested in doing this for yourself. Just go on their site, download their software, and just play around with it, and you'll be able to kind of see just how easy you could create something with it. After picking the photos that I wanted to go in the book, I put them in a folder, and I ended up uploading them all to the Blurb website. And then I just played around with the format. I think I picked at the time around like 70 or 80 photos. I ended up having 62 photos in my book, so I know I still had a lot of stuff that I needed to remove, but it was a good starting point instead of just starting from the 107 photos that I had in the beginning. So after finalizing what photos I wanted to go into the book, I ended up ordering a rough copy first, a rough draft of the book. And after that, I just saw what needed to be tweaked a little bit. I ended up ordering 100 copies. I think at the time I paid around $2,200 or $2,300, which comes out to like $20 something per book. I sold my book for $50, and I was very comfortable with that price point. I still am. It might not work for everybody, and I completely understand that. Funny story is the day that I released my book, the first client that came through the door, he wanted to get the book for his girlfriend because she was a fan of mine. And when I told him the price, he just could not believe it. He was like, $50? And I was like, yeah, man, it's $50. And then he's like, for a book? I was like, yeah, for the book. And then it was a little awkward at first, but I've learned I don't really get offended too easily. So I figured if I kind of just kept my position, kept my strong stance on it, he'd either not buy it or he'd just buy it and keep it pushing. And then he kind of apologized, and he was not trying to be offensive. I was like, oh, it's no big deal. I completely understand, but he was kind of blown away by it. And then it made me a little bit nervous because I was like, man, he's a first customer. How's everybody else going to feel? But luckily he was the only one that reacted that way. He's actually a pretty cool guy too. I follow him on Instagram. He's a really, really good drummer from out here. So when pricing out your book, I would say you have to take everything that you're doing into consideration. I paid $20 something per book. I had to buy the prints just to create the book, and all those small prints didn't go to waste because I ended up putting them in each book as a gift to everybody who purchased one. So that's still something that I have in all the books that I have available. So I had to buy the plastic for it, I had to pay for shipping, and I had to buy express shipping because I ordered it super late. I had to pay for taxes too. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So to me, $50 makes sense. So you do whatever makes sense for you, I feel. When I released the book, I decided to do it at a local spot named Revival. Shout out to Jabron for helping me out. And I did it with two other photographers, my boy Winslow and Nathan. And it was cool to just kind of get other people involved in that momentum because they were able to sell a lot of prints, and I was able to sell a lot of books, and I was able to sell prints as well. So we all just really made out at the end of that day. But it was cool to have an actual release for it as well. And it was right before Christmas too. So, it really worked out. I ordered 100 copies. And within 2 or 3 days, I ended up having to order another 100 copies. I'm really grateful for all the support that I received at the time, and today it's still getting a lot of, still gets a lot of love. I've been able to get it in a local spot too out here. So I'm really proud of that. So a few things that I would do differently for the next time that I release a book. I would probably do a pre-order for it. I think that if you decide to make a post and do a pre-order, it could help you out immensely with the cost in the end, so because I didn't do any pre-orders, I had to put up the cost up front myself. But a pre-order will kind of give you an idea of how many people might want to invest into it in the beginning, and you kind of just see how you go from there. One other thing that I recommend to most people is to kind of get other people's opinion on it if you're on the fence about some things. It never hurts to ask another photographer whose work you respect for his or her opinion on this, on your book. Another thing that I feel that I dropped the ball in was the marketing for it. So I made a post right before the event, a few days before the event. And then I made 2 more posts about the book shortly after that. And I pretty much never made another post about the book except unless it was in my stories or something like that. But I think that I should have done even if it's once a month or just a reminder to people that I have this book that I'm still selling, because I think that could have helped it out a lot. I maybe would have been able to sell all the rest of the books that I still have available, which I still have maybe around 30 something copies left. So I've sold a little over 160. Yeah, but besides that, man, I am extremely proud of everything that I did with this book. I still love this book. It means so much to me. it's the first time I was able to do a really big project like that, and it definitely won't be the last. This is, anytime I felt like I couldn't finish it, I've always had a lot of doubts about myself, just like everybody. And there's so many times that I felt like, oh, I'm kind of in over my head. I would always have to remind myself, like, I have bigger plans in my life than just releasing one book. So it's like, this is just like a small chapter in like this entire like photography journey. So just kind of get it over with. Whenever the final product is, it's going to be fine. Nothing's going to be perfect. That's something you have to remind yourself, a lot, because if not, you keep thinking, oh, I could make it better, I could tweak it, I could do this, but it's fine. Once it's so hard to just say something is fully done, but you have to, I think giving yourself a time limit is something that's extremely helpful. I never used to do that before, but I've seen the value in it when creating this book. I gave myself a time limit by Christmas at the time, so like I had to finish it by that time. If I would have never given myself a time limit, I could have still been working on this book saying, oh, it just has to be perfect and stuff like that. But it's like, once it's done, you finish it, you keep it moving, you kind of reap the benefits, and then it's on to the next thing. I'm always moving forward. So with all that being said, I love this book. So if you're interested in a copy yourself, I still have them on my website. It's rafiqs.com. I'll leave a link down below. And like I said earlier, each book comes with a print, and it also comes signed as well. So, a little bit extra for you. So if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave them down below. I'll be able to help out with anything that you need. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Peace.